September the 10th, 2024. As you're looking at the 8 a.m. advisory, this thing has been out 47 minutes. It's 7:47 here Central Time at 8:47 on the East Coast. 65-mile-per-hour winds, moving north at 5. Remember, it was moving at 7 miles an hour, so it slowed down a little bit. The map right here really hasn't changed much in direction, but what they did was right in this area. Remember, it was a Cat 2, predicted to be that, and that hasn't changed, and I don't know why they took this out. Do people get pressured to downplay storms sometimes? I don't know. But if you look at the computer data, it's still showing a Cat 2 coming ashore. And this is very misleading if you ask me. Maybe they know something I don't, but we're going to look at the printouts, and I'll show you exactly why there's still a Cat 2 forming here. The spaghetti model's been up 20 minutes, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And again, the Navy model is right here, the purple line. It would be to the east of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And the Canadian model is just to the west. So right in here for these two models crossing. Jackson's right here, guys. Most of central Mississippi will be impacted. Now, I would point out a couple things. More models are drifting towards the east. Also, yesterday, the storm surges that we looked at went through Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and to the Mississippi-Alabama line. Right now, though, they've included Mobile Bay in the storm surge. We'll take a look at the storm surge maps. But this has now been moved to the west also. Just saying. From the National Hurricane Center, Francine is still sitting here, 55-knot wind, 65 miles per hour. It doesn't take long to get to a Cat 1 at this. Pressure is at 990, then moving north at 5 miles per hour. That's what we're seeing here. Storms here, 70% chance of this storm, and this one's headed straight, a 40% chance. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it. Right now, I'm focused on the Gulf of Mexico. This was at 7:53 a.m. Eastern Time, so it's about an hour old. Now, this was updated about 4 hours ago. Notice the difference is right here from the edge of Mississippi over to the Alabama-Florida border. You have 1 to 3 foot storm surge going up into Mobile Bay. That's what we talked about in the video yesterday afternoon. If it does start to move west, we'll see that. 2 to 4 feet back to the mouth of the Mississippi River, 4 to 7 to Port Fourchon, 5 to 10 from Fourchon over to Cameron. That includes Vermilion Bay, again, 5 to 10 feet. You get in 3 to 5 feet from Cameron to High Island, and then 1 to 3 feet from there all the way across the Texas coast to the mouth of the Rio Grande. I'm not going to make this a long video. After we get the morning updates coming up here in the next few hours, we'll be able to do a little more with it. I just wanted to show you this printout, and this basically tells you where it's at, degrees north and west, and how fast it will become. Now, what's important is right here we have, this is where it comes in land. Let me start right here, right there. So this will be the last one over the water. Maximum wind, 85 knots, gust to 105 knots. Now let's take a look at this knot to mile per hour wind speed conversion chart. Basically, a knot is 1.152 miles per hour, so 10 knots would be 11.52 knots, or miles per hour, excuse me. 100 knots would be 115 mile per hour winds. You see that? So we're going to be coming ashore, it looks like, at 85 knots, which is 98 miles per hour. Okay, 96, I believe, goes to a Cat 2. Now, 105 on your gust, 121 right here, miles per hour, Cat 3 wind. So don't know why Fox took that Category 2 out right before it comes to shore. I don't know, there's a shark on the beach thing with the end of tourist season? I don't know. But we're dealing with a Cat 2 according to the National Hurricane Center with Cat 3 winds coming ashore. Don't let the charts fool you. Now let's take a look at the visible images as the sun rises this morning. Here is Francine, again, just off the Texas-Mexico border. Corpus Christi webcams are showing pressure off there. Again, even over to the Silver Slipper in Mississippi, you can look at it, that webcam that focuses down on the beaches there, and see that the waves are larger. You don't usually see much white capping there. It looks like the tide's out even all the way down to around the Galveston area. So that was this morning, though, again, early, maybe 30, 45 minutes ago, that I was looking at those cams as the sun was coming up. So there's pressure being felt already, and look at all of this moisture that's out in front of the storm. And I think a lot of this is remnants from the system that was set over here for about 2 or 3 weeks, giving us much nicer weather. But then it's going to go through a cycle as the sun comes up, heats the top of the clouds, heats the surface of the ocean. And what we'll see by this afternoon earlier, what kind of storm we really have. Now, tomorrow, this thing's going to be right offshore. And tomorrow night around midnight, be up around central Mississippi. You guys, you can figure that Montgomery, Alabama, over around the Monroe area in Louisiana, just going through I-10 there. That's about a midnight timestamp. And that's the worst possible one because most people will be attempting to be asleep if you have power. But they are talking about that. If you look at the National Weather Service, not that National Hurricane Center, they throw out some information there about what will happen at the speeds of the storm coming in. Let's take a look at that. And this is what we have. Again, National Weather Service, got hurricane, tropical storm warnings all up from the Mexico border, really all the way down into the Bay of Campeche area and further south. But right here, coming into Louisiana, you got flash flood warnings, hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, all the way up into Mississippi right here. And here you have a couple of extra warnings called tropical storm watch, and that's up getting into the southern part of Mississippi above the Hattiesburg area. And we'll just take a look at what they're saying, and I think it's important to pay attention to this. Now, this was put up about an hour ago, 6:51 a.m. Central. This is out of Jackson, Mississippi, and it is a tropical storm watch is in effect. A tropical storm watch means tropical storm force winds are possible somewhere within this area within the next 48 hours. Latest local forecast, below tropical storm force wind peak wind forecast 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts to 50. Now, this is getting inland, but it's important to see what they're saying. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast uncertainty in the track, size, and intensity. That's when we're going to do a better report, longer one with more details as everyone wakes up in this community that puts the reports up. It says potential for wind 58 to 73 miles per hour. Plan for dangerous wind of equivalent strong tropical storm force. Preparing remaining efforts to protect life and property should be completed as soon as possible. Prepare for significant wind damage. Move to a safe shelter before the wind becomes hazardous. Potential impacts. Significant, some damage to roofing, siding materials, along with damage to porches, awnings, carports, and sheds. A few buildings experiencing window, door, and garage door failures. Mobile home damaged, especially if unanchored. Unsecured lightweight objects can become dangerous projectiles. Several large trees could be snapped or uprooted, but with greater numbers in places where trees are shallow rooted. Several fences and roadway signs could be blown over. Some roads could become impassable from large debris, and more within urban or heavily wooded areas. A few bridges, causeways, and access routes could become impassable. Scattered power and communication outages, but more prevalent in areas with above-ground lines, of course. So, guys, we were talking about this last night. Today is the day to gas up your vehicles, get extra water in case you lose power at your pumping stations, and fill up your tubs. You'll have something to flush your commodes and things like that with. If you have a water filter, you can wash your tub out, fill it up, and then filter that water through your Alexa Pure or whatever you have. So be prepared for that. Charge up every phone, laptop you've got, every flashlight. Make sure new batteries are in there. Charge your, if you've got portable tools like flashlights, fans, and stuff that Ryobi makes, make sure all of that's charged to the max. If you're not sure, if you can, run out right now to somewhere like Home Depot and get you a battery-powered fan. Now, they're hybrid. You can plug them in, or you can put the Ryobi batteries in the back. Make sure it says hybrid if you get one. Then the flashlights are really nice to have, too. If you got solar panels, make sure they're in good condition. Maybe keep an eye on it as the storm's coming in, if the wind's getting too strong. But mine here on the post outside have seen very high winds in the last 5 or 6 years, and it has not even moved them. And you can move it by hand left and right. You saw that in the video. Peak rainfalls 3 to 6 inches with locally higher amounts. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast. Again, the uncertainty of the track. From the other major or potential impacts is extensive major rainfall. Flooding may prompt many evacuations and rescues. Rivers and tributaries may rapidly overflow their banks in multiple places. Small streams, creeks, canals, and ditches may become dangerous rivers. Flood control systems and barriers may become stressed. Floodwaters can enter many structures within multiple communities, some structures becoming uninhabitable or washed away. Many places where floodwaters may cover escape routes. We're talking about it, Mississippi here, but this really applies to everyone, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, in these areas. It says streets and parking lots become rivers of moving water with underpasses submerged. Driving conditions become dangerous. Many roads and bridge closures are possible, with some weakened or washed out. Situation is somewhat favorable for tornadoes. Guys, that pretty much says what we got to watch for. But let's give it a couple hours. We'll have more light over the Gulf of Mexico, better satellite imaging. But right now, they're telling us from the printouts, and that's what I do when I make my maps of the hurricane tracks, Cat 2, Cat 3 winds coming ashore. If that brings it down in the 10 o'clock report, then I will come in and report it that it's going to be a Cat 1. But it's going over much warmer water, and I still don't understand why Fox took that 2 off. Guys, we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.